My phone buzzed at 3:42 p.m. inside the Dallas Fire Rescue Headquarters. I'm Rita Fisher, Administrative Coordinator, buried in shift logs when the screen flashed an unfamiliar number. I answered and heard Sophia, my 6-year-old, gasping between sobs. "Mommy." Aunt Ashley hit me with the TV remote. She said, "If I tell, she'll do it again." A crash exploded behind her, then Ashley's voice snarled, "Shut up!" The line went dead. My pulse hammered louder than the fax machine. I dialed Sergeant Vicente Gomez. He's 10 minutes out patrolling the neighborhood. "Vicente, it's Rita. Sophia's at my parents' place on Maple Street. She's hurt, go now." Tires screeched on his end. "On my way." 20 seconds later, he texted, "Arriving." I gripped the wheel, heart racing toward the house 30 minutes away. Sirens wailed in my mind. Then his next message, "Door breached." A scream. Sophia's cut through the speaker. "Thanks for watching. Drop a like if this hooked you, share your own family wake-up call in the comments, and subscribe for more raw stories that hit close to home." I sped down the highway, hands trembling on the steering wheel, phone clutched in the other. The city blurred past billboards, traffic lights, everything irrelevant. My mind replayed the severed call, Sophia's tiny voice breaking. 30 minutes felt eternal, each mile stretching like taffy. I swerved around a semi-truck horn blaring behind me, but I didn't care. The exit for Maple Street loomed, and I veered off, tires screeching on the ramp. Pulling up to the familiar ranch-style house, blue and red lights already pulsed against the siding. Sergeant Vicente Gomez had Ashley Carter, my sister, pinned against the living room wall, her arms twisted behind her back. She thrashed face red, but he held firm, his radio crackling with updates to dispatch. Officers swarmed the porch, notebooks out, securing the scene. My parents, Mr. Harold Carter and Mrs. Evelyn Carter, stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching like it was a minor inconvenience. They'd been helping watch Sophia since the divorce, claiming it eased my load at the fire station. Now their presence twisted my gut. "Sophia!" I shouted, pushing past an officer. Vicente nodded toward the hallway. "She's safe, Rita. Paramedics are with her." I rushed inside, the air thick with tension. Sophia sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, eyes wide and glassy. A female officer knelt beside her, speaking softly. My daughter looked up, lip quivering. "Mommy." I dropped to my knees, pulling her into my arms. She buried her face in my shoulder, body shaking. "It's okay, honey. I'm here." Vicente released Ashley to another cop who cuffed her loosely for now. She glared at me. "This is ridiculous." She tripped. "Tripped?" I snapped, voice low but sharp. Sophia pulled back slightly, whispering. "Aunt Ashley got mad because I spilled juice on the carpet." She grabbed the remote and swung it at my arm. It hurt so bad. The words hit like punches. I examined her forearm, gently, fresh red mark swollen. But the paramedic, a middle-aged woman with a clipboard, leaned in after checking her vitals. "Ma'am, there are older bruises on her upper arm, faded yellow ones. This wasn't the first time." My breath caught. Older bruises. How had I missed this? The room spun for a second. Officers took statements, Vicente first describing the forced entry after hearing cries through the door. Ashley interrupted constantly. "She's exaggerating, kids make up stories." Mr. Carter cleared his throat. "Rita, calm down. Your sister was just disciplining her." Mrs. Carter nodded. "Children need discipline, dear. Sophia's been fussy lately." Discipline. My blood boiled, but I focused on Sophia. "Tell the officer exactly what happened, sweetie." She nodded, voice small. "Aunt Ashley yells a lot when you're at work. Today she said I was a burden like always. Then she hit me." The cop, jotting notes, paused, eyebrow raised. Vicente stepped closer. "We've got probable cause. Child endangerment." Ashley lunged forward, but the cuffs stopped her. "You can't prove anything." I ignored her, turning to my parents. "You were here. Why didn't you stop it?" Mr. Carter shrugged. "We were in the kitchen." Heard the commotion but figured Ashley had it handled. Mrs. Carter added, Sophia's 6 now. She needs to learn respect. Respect for what being struck. The paramedic wrapped an ice pack on Sophia's arm, murmuring reassurance. Another officer photographed the scene. Overturned lamps spilled juice, staining the rug remote on the floor with a crack in it. Vicente pulled me aside. Rita hospital next. Full exam. We'll hold Ashley for questioning. I nodded, scooping Sophia up. She clung tight. Don't leave me again, Mommy. Never, honey. As we headed to the ambulance, statements continued behind us. Ashley's denials grew louder, my parents defending her weakly. The officers exchanged glances, clear signs of a pattern. At the hospital entrance, the paramedic repeated her finding. Those faded marks on the arm, consistent with repeated impact, will document everything. The doors slid open, fluorescent lights harsh. Sophia squeezed my hand. This nightmare had layers I hadn't seen. In the pediatric ER, the steady beep of the heart monitor filled the room, a rhythmic reminder that Sophia's vitals remained stable. She lay on the exam table, small hand gripping mine, while nurses adjusted the IV drip for pain relief. Dr. Elena Torres, the attending physician with a calm demeanor and years of experience in child cases, reviewed the X-rays on her tablet. Ms. Fisher, she said, pulling me aside but keeping her voice low so Sophia wouldn't overhear. The fresh mark on her forearm is from today, blunt force consistent with the remote you mentioned. But these older ones on her upper arm and shoulder faded yellowish. They've been there at least a week, maybe 2. Pattern suggests repeated incidents. Repeated. The word echoed, turning my stomach. I glanced at Sophia, who stared at the ceiling, avoiding eye contact. How could this happen under my nose? Dr. Torres handed me a printed report. We'll file this with Child Protective Services automatically. You need copies for any legal steps? I nodded, folding the paper carefully. Sophia whispered, Mommy, am I in trouble? No, sweetie, you're brave for telling. I kissed her forehead, then stepped into the hallway for privacy. My phone felt heavy as I dialed Ashley. She answered on the second ring, background noise suggesting she was still at the station. What now, Rita? The cops let me go with a warning. A warning. My voice stayed, even though anger simmered. The doctor just confirmed old marks on Sophia. This wasn't once. Silence, then a huff. Doctors exaggerate. She's clumsy. Clumsy doesn't leave patterns. I pressed record on a voice memo app, holding the phone steady. Tell me why. Ashley exploded. Fine, I struck her because she wouldn't shut up crying over nothing, spilling things. You dump her on us all day while you're at your fancy job. You can't even raise her properly if you'd been a better mom. Her words cut deep, but I let her rant, capturing every syllable. So you admit it? Admit what discipline Mom and Dad agree, she needs a firm hand. The line crackled with her heavy breathing. I ended the call without response, stopping the recording. 37 seconds of pure confession. My fingers flew, emailing the file to myself and a secure cloud drive. Sitting on a bench outside the room, memories flooded back. 2 months ago, Sophia starting first grade at the local elementary. Ashley had insisted on handling enrollment to help. We'd met at the school office, forms piled high. One document stood out, a temporary care authorization allowing Ashley to pick her up or make decisions if I was unreachable during shifts. You sign here, the administrator had said. Ashley skimmed it, pen scratching quickly. It's just for emergencies, right? I hadn't thought twice then, trusting family. Now that paper morphed into something bigger, a legal foothold for extended care, potentially binding if challenged. I'd snapped a photo of the signed copy for records. Back in the room, Dr. Torres returned with discharge papers. She's clear to go home with you. Ice the arm, follow up in a week. Sophia sat up slowly. Can we get ice cream? Soon, honey. I helped her into a wheelchair, mind racing. The recording burned in my pocket, evidence stacking like bricks. Nurses wheeled us toward the exit, Sophia chattering about school friends to distract herself. I saved the audio file again, labeling it carefully. Heart pounding, I realized the fight had just begun. This proof could shift everything. As we reached the parking lot, Vicente waited with his cruiser. In the small coffee shop tucked on a side street near downtown Dallas, the aroma of freshly ground beans mingled with the faint hum of an espresso machine, yet it did nothing to lighten the oppressive mood as I settled into the worn leather booth. Ashley sat across from me, flanked by Mr. Harold Carter on her left and Mrs. Evelyn Carter on her right, their postures rigid like they were attending a funeral rather than a family discussion. I'd arranged this meeting deliberately, neutral ground public enough to keep tempers in check, private enough for hard truths. Sophia remained at home with a colleague from the fire station, engrossed in puzzles to shield her from the fallout. I placed my phone centrally on the table screen, down the record function activated with a subtle swipe before anyone noticed. "We're here to settle this before it escalates to court," I stated calmly, folding my hands. "No more excuses." Ashley crossed her arms defensively, her usual bravado cracking at the edges. "Settle what the cops already backed off. It was a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding doesn't explain the doctor's findings." I kept my gaze steady, refusing to let emotion override strategy. Mr. Carter adjusted his glasses, peering over the menu without ordering his silence, speaking volumes. He'd always been the quiet enforcer in family matters. Mrs. Carter stirred sugar into her untouched teaspoon, clinking nervously against the cup. To break the ice or shatter it, I tapped play on the audio. The voice that emerged was Ashley's, raw and unfiltered from our heated phone exchange. The confession of striking Sophia out of frustration, the blame shifted to my parenting. The words echoed softly in the confined space, drawing a few curious glances from nearby patrons. Ashley's hand resting on her mug began to quiver, visibly liquid, threatening to spill. She set it down with a clatter. "You recorded that without telling me. Evidence doesn't need permission when a child is involved." I watched the tremor spread to her fingers as she gripped the table edge. "It was a bad day," she defended, voice pitching higher. "Sophia can be so disobedient, talking back, making messes. I only tapped her to get her attention." Tapped. The term infuriated me internally, but I maintained composure. "The report says otherwise." Mr. Carter finally interjected with a grunt, but no words followed. He leaned back, arms folded tightly, observing like a spectator, unwilling to intervene. I slid the medical folder forward, opening it to the highlighted sections, diagrams of bruise locations, timelines, estimating ages of injuries, the physician's conclusion of non-accidental trauma. "Read it yourself. Patterns over weeks." Ashley's shaking intensified as she leafed through the pages, her free hand balling into a fist. "She's always been clumsy. Falls at playgrounds, bumps into furniture. Clumsy doesn't align with these specifics." I pointed to a note on repetition. "This goes beyond accidents." Mrs. Carter reached for the document, scanning quickly before passing it to her husband. "We trusted you were handling things." She murmured more to Ashley than me. The server approached with refills, sensing the tension and retreating swiftly. Ashley's excuses flowed faster. "Kids test boundaries. I was teaching lessons you skip with your long shifts." "Lessons with force." My response cut sharp. "Mr. Carter shifted uncomfortably but remained wordless, his silence a tacit admission of complicity. I produced the prepared relinquishment agreement, a straightforward form waiving any guardianship claims. "Sign this. Transfer all rights to me exclusively. Supervised contact only if earned." Ashley's tremor peaked, pen hovering as if it burned. "You're forcing my hand." "Protecting hers." The booth's vinyl creaked under shifting weights. Patrons at the counter laughed obliviously, contrasting our gravity. Mr. Carter broke his quiet streak briefly. "Consider the family name." "Family prioritizes safety." I countered without hesitation. Mrs. Carter whispered urgings to comply, but Ashley resisted, hand unsteady. Minutes stretched the clock on the wall, ticking louder in the standoff. Eventually, the pen descended, signature scrawled reluctantly. There. Happy. Not happy, resolved. I collected the form, relief tempered by wariness. The atmosphere lingered thick as we prepared to part the signed paper, a fragile bridge to peace. Vicente texted outside, ready if needed. I slid the freshly inked relinquishment form aside and aligned the older stack of authorization documents precisely in the center of the table, ensuring every page faced Ashley directly. The coffee shop's ambient chatter provided a deceptive normalcy, but the focus remained laser-sharp on the revelation about to unfold. Before anyone leaves, I said evenly, look closer at what you signed months ago. Ashley eyed the pile warily. More tricks. No tricks, just consequences. I flipped to the key page from Sophia's school registration, the care delegation clause underlined in my preparatory notes. This isn't temporary pickup approval. It's extended caregiving authority, valid for ongoing decisions during my absences. In custody battles, Texas courts recognize it as foundational for permanent placement. Her expression shifted from suspicion to stunned disbelief as she absorbed the legalese. You're saying this old form gives you everything? Paired with today's waiver, yes. It establishes me as primary guardian without further challenge. The binding nature stemmed from standard family law provisions, ironclad once executed. Ashley grabbed the document, scanning desperately for loopholes. Shock turned to fury. She attempted to shred it, nails digging into the paper. Fibers tore slightly before I intervened, securing the originals. You deceived me right from that school office, she yelled, voice cracking the cafe's calm. Deceived? I secured the pages in my folder. You skimmed and signed. I retained copies. Mr. Carter extended a hand to calm her. We weren't aware of the full scope. Mrs. Carter nodded vigorously. It looked like standard permission slips. Standard. The understatement fueled the moment. Ashley persisted in ripping the duplicate I'd provided for review, fragments scattering like confetti of regret. This was a setup from day one, she accused, pieces crumpling in her palm. Set up for protection. My tone remained unflinching. Your haste created the opening. Mr. Carter tried reasoning. Destroying it changes nothing, the original stands. Mrs. Carter added softly. We thought it helped everyone. Helped. The word echoed hollowly. Ashley's attempts grew frantic, tearing another section before the server intervened, politely offering a trash bin. Vicente observed through the window, ready if escalation demanded. The legal interplay locked. The long-term authorization predated issues, bolstered by recent evidence, forming an unbreakable chain for sole custody. Ashley slumped, exhausted from the futile destruction. How could you manipulate family like this? Manipulation would be ignoring the harm. I gathered remnants. This ensures Sophia's future. Mr. Carter conceded quietly. Perhaps we overlooked signs. Mrs. Carter teared up. Blood ties shouldn't end this way. Ties break when trust does. The document's even damaged duplicates underscored the point. As tension eased slightly, the path to resolution clarified, no reversal possible. Filing occurred promptly at the courthouse. In the family courtroom, the old wooden benches creaked under shifting weights as attendees settled for the emergency hearing. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting stark shadows on the paneled walls adorned with state seals. I'd filed the petition immediately after securing the documents, requesting expedited review based on imminent risk. Sophia waited in a supervised play area down the hall, guarded by a social worker. Judge Harlan Brooks entered, robes swishing, and took the bench with authoritative poise. Case of Fisher versus Carter. Custody modification. Lem. My attorney presented the bundle first, the long-term care authorization, the recent relinquishment medical reports detailing injury timelines. Ashley sat at the opposing table with her public defender face drawn, while Mr. and Mrs. Carter occupied seats behind her, expressions a mix of defiance and anxiety. The judge adjusted his glasses. Proceed with evidence. I testified calmly, recounting the initial call, the scene arrival, hospital, confirmation of patterns. These aren't isolated. The child fears her aunt. Cross-examination probed my work schedule. Shifts leave gaps in supervision. Gaps filled by family until abuse surfaced. I countered without hesitation. Ashley's defender played down incidents. Discipline, not harm. Judge Brooks signaled for exhibits. He donned headphones to listen to the recording privately, brow furrowing at key admissions, then flipping through the doctor's annotated charts, locations, healing stages, conclusions of intent. Clear, non-accidental, he murmured, audible to the room. Ashley shifted uncomfortably, whispering to her lawyer. Mr. Carter gripped the rail, knuckles white. Mrs. Carter dabbed a handkerchief. The guardian ad litem appointed for Sophia submitted a brief report from the interview. The minor expresses dread of returning to the relative's home. Recommends sole placement with petitioner. Judge Brooks nodded. Any rebuttal? Ashley's side offered character references from co-workers, but he waved them aside. Irrelevant to physical evidence. Deliberation brief, he reviewed statutes on screen. Given the audio confession, medical corroboration, and prior authorization establishing petitioner as de facto guardian, he ruled decisively. Sole legal and physical custody awarded to Rita Fisher. No shared decision-making. Relief washed over me, though tempered. The gavel struck once. Further, the judge continued. Mrs. Ashley Carter is prohibited from approaching the child. Violation constitutes contempt. Ashley gasped audibly. Her workplace, a local daycare center, would likely trigger internal review upon notification, standard for such orders, potentially suspending her pending investigation. Mr. and Mrs. Carter exchanged horrified glances. As to grandparents, Judge Brooks addressed, visitation rights revoked indefinitely due to failure to intervene. Petition for reinstatement only after counseling and clearance. Mrs. Carter stifled a sob. Mr. Carter stood briefly, then sat defeated. The order typed rapidly by the clerk, restrictions explicit enforcement via law. Bailiff escorted Ashley out first, her defender trailing. The Carters lingered, approaching hesitantly. Rita, please reconsider. Reconsider safety, no. My response final. Courtroom emptied, gradually, echoes fading. The decision sealed protection. In the new apartment, children's tunes played softly from the speaker on the shelf, filling the cozy living room with gentle melodies that masked the city's distant hum outside the window. We'd moved to a quieter neighborhood in North Dallas, closer to the fire station and Sophia's new school, starting fresh with unpacked boxes still lining one wall. Evenings like this became our ritual dinner stories, bedtime without shadows. Sophia rested peacefully each night now, her small bed tucked under a canopy of glow-in-the-dark stars. No more nightmares jolting her awake. Therapy sessions helped unpack the fears gradually. Mornings she'd bound out with energy, chattering about friends or drawings. One afternoon she presented a crayon masterpiece, stick figures of us holding hands under a rainbow labeled Mommy and Me Forever. For you, she beamed, hugging my legs. I knelt, admiring the vibrant colors. It's beautiful, honey. This goes on the fridge. Her creativity flourished, paints, papers scattered on the kitchen table during weekends. I joined, sometimes our laughter echoing as we created abstract worlds. Over cocoa one evening, I explained trust gently. People we love should make us feel safe, not scared. True family listens and protects. She nodded thoughtfully, sipping. Like you do. Always. The conversation deepened bonds, rebuilding what fractured. Mail arrived routinely. One envelope bore familiar handwriting from the Carters. Inside, apologies scripted carefully, regret for oversight, pleas for forgiveness, hopes to reconnect someday. I read it silently, Emotions mixed, then folded it into a drawer without response. Healing prioritized us. Reopening wounds served no one. Focus shifted to routines, park outings, library visits, baking cookies. Sophia thrived, confidence blooming in small victories like tying shoes independently. Nights after tucking her in, I'd reflect on the journey, the call that shattered illusions, evidence that fortified resolve court, that formalized boundaries. Strength emerged from adversity, teaching vigilance. Sophia murmured sleepily during story time. I love you most in the world. I love you more, sweetie. Her words warmed deeper than any resolution. This ordeal underscored a vital truth. Parenthood demands fierce advocacy, recognizing harm even in kin. Blood defines relation, but actions forge family. To viewers facing similar shadows, trust instincts, seek help, prioritize the vulnerable. No child deserves silence. Breaking it saves lives. Our story proves resilience rebuilds love, heals profoundly.